Today, I'm going to show you how to start a money-making side hustle where the only person that you need to get started is yourself. There is enough videos on this channel and others that have tons of side hustle ideas, but I want to do something just a little bit different. There seems to be this gaping hole that no one's really talking about when it comes to actually how to be successful with any side hustle that you decide to start. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 little known tips that are going to help you be successful with whatever side hustle you decide to jump into. All right, so this is how it's going to go down. We're going to first define what a side hustle actually is, because you'd be surprised there's a ton of definitions out there. And then we will jump into 2 of the first 3 tips that I can guarantee will completely change the way that you look at side hustles. And finally, the tip of all tips, tip number 3. Now, I left this one specifically for last because that little piece of information is so crucial. It's so important to how I was able to grow my side hustles to the point to where I was able to ditch my 9-to-5 and do this weird side hustle thing full time. And then to help you start your side hustle, I have a special bonus that's right at the end of the video, so be sure to stay tuned for that, and let's get into it. All right, so first of all, what is a side hustle? Now, before we jump into the actual definition of it, like most people, I used to think that college was the only true way to wealth. So because of that thinking, I did what most people did. I tried my best to get good grades in high school and then started applying for colleges once I reached my junior and senior years. And initially, everything started to work out. I was accepted to Louisiana State University and I started my degree in engineering. Unfortunately, engineering was a little bit of a tough degree to attain. Either that or I was just too lazy to do it, but I ended up finishing with a communications degree. Don't judge me, I really wanted to get out of college at that point. But once I was done, I was super excited because I was able to get a job paying me a whopping $15 per hour, which ironically at that point was the most amount of money I had ever made. And as you can imagine, a job that was paying that amount wasn't necessarily covering every single bill that I had. I had things like cell phone, rent, car note, insurance, electricity, food, and of course, school loan payments. So I wasn't making enough money to cover these bills, and when I did, it was normally like I broke even for that week. So if anything happened on the outside, such as I got in a car accident or I needed a big bill that just happens to pop up, I was probably gonna have to go into debt just to pay it. At the end of the day, seemingly, college was a joke and it didn't really help me do much other than put me in a lot of debt and got me a low-paying job. So then all of a sudden, at the ripe old age of 21, I had to go out and start finding more ways to make money that was outside of my traditional 9-to-5. And that, my friends, is what a side hustle is. It is work performed for income that is supplementary or in addition to your primary job. But it is one thing to have a side hustle and it's another thing to be successful with a side hustle. Now, let's go over the 3 little known tips we talked about earlier that you are going to need to be successful with any side hustle that you decide to jump into. And be sure to take out a pen and paper if you need it, because the last tip on this list is literally what broke everything open for me and able to change not just my life, but the life of my family as well. All right, so here we go. We're going to count these down. So tip number 3, if you want to start a one-person side hustle, you absolutely positively must do goal crafting. But when I first started doing goal crafting, I thought it was a complete waste of time. Let me explain. I am originally from a small city down in Louisiana, and it was always my goal to eventually move away to a bigger city. But it wasn't just my goal, it was the goal of a lot of my friends as well. We all wanted to ditch that small town life for the big city life, and that was a goal that we all had. And when I met my girlfriend, who eventually became my wife, she wasn't from this area, so I saw that as an opportunity to get out now. Which brings me to the most important part of goal crafting, and that is that we set a date, we stuck to it, and we moved away. But the reason that that was so important was that a lot of my friends who also expressed interest in wanting to move away never actually did it. In fact, a lot of them are still there in that small town. Now, this wasn't the case for all of them because some actually did want to stay there, but a big reason why most of my friends who wanted to move but are still there in that small town was because they never set a goal to actually leave. So through that whole situation, I learned one crucial piece of information. The difference between a goal and a dream is that a goal actually has a date. If you have a goal and you don't actually put a date or a time that you actually want to do it, it's just a dream and it will never happen. So when it comes to goal crafting, whatever you set your goal for, make it slightly uncomfortable for yourself, meaning a little bit further than what you would normally want to do. That way you can have a North Star that you can shoot for, and if you actually attain it, great. But if you don't attain it, you can at least make some adjustments and then set a new goal for the future. But here's another kicker for all of this. Anytime you reach your goal, set another goal and another goal. You need to have something in front of you so that you can continue pushing. I remember the first goal that I had when I started side hustles was I just wanted to make an extra $100 or so that I could pay a cell phone bill or a light bill. But once I reached that goal, I was able to have another source of revenue paying that bill. The side hustle started paying the insurance, the car notes, the mortgage. It just kept getting bigger and bigger. It eventually replaced my wife's income so that she was able to quit her job, and then a few months later, I was able to quit mine. And honestly, once my business started reaching all of these pretty big goals, I stopped setting them, and then all of a sudden, my business started suffering. So goal crafting is something that even I myself still struggle with, but I want to make sure that you don't have to by actually setting good, proper goals. Now, once you start doing goal crafting, you might notice that it's a little difficult to remain consistent with it, and mainly because I was having a hard time managing one of my most valuable resources. Which leads me to my number 2 tip on how to start a one-person side hustle, which arguably is more important than goal crafting. When I was trying side hustle after side hustle and constantly failing with whatever I was trying to do, a big reason for it was because I was missing this crucial thing, and it's called becoming a time technician. Let me show you how important this is. In 2007, I was a single man. I was super busy doing a ton of stuff. We're talking about work, gym, hanging out with friends, playing video games. I was in college at the time. I was just always busy doing something. But then fast forward to 2015, I was married, and then I realized I wasn't that busy as a single man because I was even more busy as a married man. We're talking date nights, working, double dates, movies, spending time together, playing games, whatever. So now let's fast forward a little bit further to 2018, and now I have a 1-year-old. And being busy as a single man and being busy as a married man was nothing compared to being a parent. We're talking playing with the baby, diaper changes, staying up all night, play dates, also working, and you still have all of the other things you have to do as a married man. What I'm getting at here is that as time goes on, you realize that you have less and less time, even though you may not realize it in the moment. But regardless of all of that, there were still things that I made time for because I just wanted to do them. This included golf, movies, Netflix, just surfing the internet, and just doing things like that. So one of the things that I did to become a proper time technician is I had to take an inventory of what I was doing with my time and trying to figure out where I could fit in more stuff to actually learn a trade or learn something on the side that was going to make me some money. And then once I became a creator rather than just a consumer, where instead of just watching stuff on TV or maybe just having a particular item, I was creating that item, or I was creating that piece of content that people were reading and watching. So instead of binge watching like 12 seasons where each episode is an hour long on Netflix, I took that same time and applied it to an opportunity for me to learn a skill that wasn't just going to have me sitting there on the couch and really not doing anything, but actually doing something that's going to make more money. And the end result for that was outstanding because I was able to take all of that knowledge that I was able to gain and turn it into a thriving business. And now I'm still able to sit down and watch Netflix and watch movies and play golf and all of those things, but it's because I put a lot of that knowledge in my head in the past. So I taught myself a valuable lesson. I will make time for the things that I want to do. I just have to make sure that I make the proper sacrifices if I really want to extend my knowledge. But even though making those sacrifices was a big deal, the number 1 tip that I have for you that we're about to go over, it's insane. Now look, I don't want to sugarcoat this, but it's the exact reason that I was able to take this whole side hustle thing and do it full time. So look, just to be honest, if you haven't been paying attention, if you have me on in the background or something or whatever, right now is the time to listen up. You ready? Let's go. So the number 1 tip that I have for you when it comes to creating a one-person side hustle that you can run yourself and not just do it, but actually succeed with it, is to master your motive. It's 2010 and I am sitting in my living room room drinking a cup of really cheap coffee out of a broken mug that actually leaked a little bit anytime I drank from it. The reality was, at the time, I was broke as a joke, and I was pretty much doing anything I could to try to make a few extra bucks. So I open up my laptop and I go to ebay.com and I see a whole bunch of used, kind of broken down computers that are there for sale really cheap. Now, at the time, I was actually pretty good with computers, and I actually taught myself how to work on them. So I trusted that I was able to buy these computers, fix them up, and then resell them on eBay for a profit. At the end of it, I did start making a little bit of money with it. I mean, nothing to really write home about, but it was profitable. But even then, I still eventually gave up on the whole thing. Now, let's fast forward a little bit here to 2014, and I found a overseas wholesaler who was selling these little button-down Lacoste shirts. Since I was getting them at such a cheap price, I went ahead and bought like a whole lot of them, and I used that to turn around and try to sell them on eBay. Now, full disclosure, these shirts, they were fake replicas. They weren't real Lacoste shirts, right? But I mean, I was desperate at the time, and people weren't paying full price for them anyway on eBay, but I was able to make a profit based on how much I had paid for them in the very beginning. Looking back at it, I probably could have been sued, but at that time, eBay was still pretty new and it was pretty much the wild, wild west. So after fulfilling about 50 or so of those shirt orders, I started getting emails and letters back, and people were sending the clothes back, not because the quality of the shirt wasn't that great or they didn't like it. I was sending people the wrong sizes or the wrong colors, and I wasn't fulfilling everything the way that it needed to be. So then I had to start dealing with returns and then having to refund money, and then if the shirt didn't fit for somebody, it was a whole ordeal. And then I realized at that moment that I really wasn't that good or even that interested in wanting to continue that business, so I stopped doing it. Now, that was just two examples, but did you notice a similarity between both of them? When money wasn't flowing or it became difficult to do, I gave up. And that wasn't the only two. It's just for the sake of time, I didn't want to go into all of them, but I did similar things when it came to buying and selling iPhones, drop shipping, Instagram marketing, paid ads. I had tried it all. And each and every time, these side hustles were just not working for me, and I eventually gave up. But right when I was pretty much at my lowest point and completely getting ready to give up on side hustles altogether, something pretty important happened in my life. My wife and I found out that we were pregnant with our first son, Benji. And she told me she wanted to stay home with him full time so that she can take care of him, mommy care rather than daycare. And unfortunately, when she first asked, I told her no, because we couldn't afford it. She needed to at least work part-time or something. I wasn't making enough money to be able to support the entire family. But before Benji showed up, she sat me down, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Chris, you need to figure this out." So I had to put my big boy pants on and figure something out. So I went online and I Googled, like most people probably do, is how to make money online, right? And I came across a lot of trash, but I eventually stumbled across blogging and affiliate marketing. Now, it didn't work out eventually from the very beginning. In fact, I was scammed a couple of times with a couple of products that I bought that really didn't do anything for me. But regardless of what I was going through, I kept moving forward, trying to learn more because I knew it was possible. So the difference with doing this side hustle wasn't necessarily the side hustle. It was the reason why I was doing it to begin with. I had a family that needed me to figure this out as soon as possible. I eventually did reach my goal with having my wife be able to stay home with our son full time, and a few months later, I was able to quit my job and also stay home with the family full time. And again, the only difference there was the fact that I had a pure reason why. I had better motives. I had to master my motives. Remember that whatever side hustle you try, you will, trust me, you will struggle with it. It's never going to be 100% easy because breaking away from the 9-to-5 just doesn't happen easily. You have to be able to figure stuff out and keep pushing even when it's not working initially. For me, my master of the motive was my family, and that is what kept me going. If you just want to make money and that is your only motive, you're going to fail. So don't do that. In fact, if you think you have a good reason, let me know down in the comments and we could chop it up down there. But before I let you go, the reality of it all is that making money with a side hustle can be difficult, especially if you don't apply the tips that we just went over in this video. But a bonus tip that I have for you is that you need to love what you're doing. And in this video, I show you 9 very unique side hustles that anyone can start to make some extra cash. Check it out and let me know if you find one you like. I believe in you, and it's about time that you believed in yourself. Take care.